I was a little concerned. Is this close enough? I don't know. Apologize. Can't even see me. A little concerned about wearing this outfit. Got a new robe. Thought it might reveal a little too much chest. And then one day I was going through YouTube looking at drumming videos, and there was a guy wearing just his underwear drumming with pins, and he was getting like thousands of views, and he made a series of these videos. And I was like, all right, well, I'm doing better than that guy. Not in views, but I'm doing better than that guy in dress. I have a weird, as you know, sense of how to watch movies, how I watch television. I've always been this way. I don't quite do things the way other people do it. I don't know why. I just think about it a little differently. Or maybe I don't. Maybe there's plenty of people out there who do these kind of things. I'm not sure. I've never talked to anyone else that does. But whenever I've talked to somebody about it, it seems like they're interested. And I suggest trying it if you've never done this. And that is, I watch certain movies and even TV shows seasonally. So I actually coordinate my vacations at work. I get 5 vacation weeks a year. This year I think it goes up to 6, and then in a few more years it'll go up to 7. So I can't coordinate all of them, but I have a summer vacation in which I have some movies I'll watch every summer. I have a fall movies or TV shows I watch every fall. So we'll go over the history of this a little bit, how I came up with this, or how this pattern just sort of emerged. This happened simultaneously. I was, USA Network used to play Wings. This is a really fond memory. And I worked second shift, and so I oftentimes would go to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning. And USA would play Wings from 10 to 11, 2 episodes every day, Monday through Friday. So every day I forced myself to wake up to watch Wings. Now, in case you're not in the know, TV shows didn't start coming out until DVDs were invented. It took a few years even after DVDs. It took 5-6 years, I think, till DVDs really got popular before they started coming out with TV shows on DVD. On VHS, it was just too bulky. So you couldn't buy a television series on VHS. So if you didn't record them, which I didn't, then you didn't have on demand. You had to watch it when it came on. So cable ran reruns, syndicated reruns, and Wings was on. And if you're not familiar with Wings, the same people who did the TV show Cheers and Frasier. Highly recommend the comedy. It's very good. No politics. Really, really good show. Just pure comedy. It's not perfect. There's some episodes that are a little bit goofy, but generally really good television show. At the same time, I discovered the television series Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks had a very limited run, and so it only had a total of, I think 30 episodes. So they came out with a VHS box set. It was huge. Just 30 episodes was huge. But because it had such a limited run, they were able to do that. So I didn't want to wear it out by watching it every, month. So I decided I would only watch it in the fall. Now, the show takes place in February into the spring, but it felt like fall to me for some reason. So I would watch it every autumn, and I would get excited. I mean, I would force myself. It'd start getting a little bit cooler, in September, but I have to wait till October because it just wouldn't feel like fall. The leaves weren't really turning yet and everything. And then come, I think, just October, or maybe that last week of September, I'd start watching it, man. I would get really into it. But over time, even once a year, a show, you can just wear it out. So I decided, okay, I kind of wore this one out. I tried to replace it. I couldn't. Same thing with Wings. I've seen it over the years again, but I've just seen it so many times. I watch it during the spring on occasion. I may watch it again this year, or at least the last season. But I just, didn't get to watch it very often. All right, so it evolved into whenever I took a vacation, I would watch Wings. And then every fall, Twin Peaks. And this morphed somehow into, I know what it was. We couldn't afford cable. And we basically couldn't afford DVDs. So I just started buying movies on VHS. This is before we had our first child. I had to quit my job to go back to school. And you think that sounds like it stinks. Actually, it was great. It was great. When you have limited options, you enjoy what you have more. And I enjoyed some of these shows that I watched on VHS, but they had to be movies. And because DVDs were popular, these things were only 50 cents. And I got to watch a lot of great movies for very cheap that I'd never seen before. And so, come vacation, I didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot to do. I know what, I'll pull out the VHSs and watch these shows. And so, some shows felt more like shows I should watch in the spring. Some shows felt more like what I should watch in the summer. You get it. And that was back in around 2004, maybe. And that kind of started that. So since about 2004, I've been doing this. And so I have about 5 or 6 that I watch each vacation during those periods. And then some movies you can't watch every year. You just got to skip a few years and come back to them. And that's the way I do it now. Highly recommend doing this. I enjoy doing it. Maybe you might think it's a little ridiculous. I don't know, but I like doing it. So I'm giving you my top 3 spring movies. Now you may disagree that these would make good spring movies. I'd be interested in talking about that with someone, but I'd be curious to see what anyone else's movies would be, like what they would watch in the spring or what they would watch in the summer, or if they can even think about it this way. I can maybe attempt a justification for some of these. All right, so my first one, all right, is Say Anything, John Cusack. Only 3 of them. I think I know why I picked spring on this one. Because he's graduating high school. And so it's kind of happening in the spring in California. If you haven't seen that movie, you've missed something. It's actually really good. It's about a guy who, there's this girl who she's devoted her life to her education. And she really has no idea how attractive she is to the opposite sex. And this guy he has no interest in being in that world of education. He's more into kickboxing. And so he just decides he's going to go after this girl. And his friends are like, you don't have a shot with her. She can get any guy she wants and she chooses no guy. Why would she stop everything she's doing for you? And it's really good. It's a very unique story about sometimes how people fall in love is very different. And Cameron Crowe is the director. And if you haven't seen a Cameron Crowe film, watch all his movies. They're not all great, but he has this angle on romantic movies where if you're not into those, because I'm not particularly into those, but he has a different angle. And that's what makes them so good, is 2 people can fall in love in the strangest ways you would never predict. And 2 people can be incompatible, and that makes them compatible. And really good. There's also a core mystery in this movie about her father, that he's kind of caught up in some things he shouldn't be caught up into, possibly. Cameron Crowe said he was driving down the street and he saw a young girl and her father walking. And he said, what if that guy had a secret? What if her dad had a secret? And that's how he came up with the story. Really, really good. Also probably reminds me a little bit of my own past, just slightly. Just a little bit. I was incompatible with a person one time for my youth. And people were saying, oh, this would never work out. And it worked out pretty good. All right. Next, this is debatable on whether this is a good spring movie. All right, Top Gun. Top Gun. I was, one summer about 2 years ago, my daughter was 13, my oldest. And I said, all right, I want you to watch some movies I watched when I was your age. And we watched quite a few. And I said, okay, the next one's going to be Top Gun. And she's like, what's that about? I was like, well, it's about Navy fighter pilots. And she was like, and I was like, no. I was like, I understand. But I was like, you just have to give it a chance. It was really late. We watched it. And she's like, all right, I'm going to bed. I'm like, okay, when we got done. And the next morning she woke up and I was in the kitchen and she comes up and she wakes up and she comes around the corner. She goes, Dad, Top Gun was really good. She just woke up and it's the first thing she thought about. And she still loves Top Gun 2 years later. I want to watch it with her again. And they're doing a sequel here soon. I'm sure it's not going to be very good, but I hope I'm wrong. But I'm not going to go into what Top Gun's about. It's just too famous of a movie. I know people that are in their 20s that were inspired to join the Air Force and Navy because of Top Gun. I mean, years and years and years later. And I'll just say this, memories from Top Gun. I don't know why I chose it as a spring film. I think because they go to Miramar and it just has a kind of a feel to it. Also, there's a love story in it. Maybe that's a spring thing, coming of spring and, you know, love is in the air. I don't know, who knows. But that is a running theme with these films. And by the way, it's my second favorite spring movie. Third favorite being Say Anything. I'll get to my first here in a second. All right, now, with Top Gun, I have a good story, and that is the Nintendo Entertainment System. There was a Top Gun game on there. And all I want to say is just that it just played the same music from the movie over and over and over in that Nintendo music. And if I had any editorial skills or ability or time, because I don't have any of those things, I would try to interlace as much of that as I could on this for you. But it's just a good memory of a simpler simpler time in video games, when it was just a pretty basic and you mastered certain things, and that was the game itself, is mastering those simple things. And how that worked itself into the rotation, couldn't tell you, but it's, for me, a perfect spring movie. Finally, number one, and am I close to my top 10, it's not quite there, but real close, is Steve Martin and Roxanne. I am not a Steve Martin fan by any stretch of the imagination. I really don't think he's funny. My grandmother did not like Steve Martin, and I may have talked about this briefly on the channel before. Just not a Steve Martin fan. Can't help it. But this movie's great, and he's great in it. Is it Sergei? It's based on a play that was made a long time ago. I honestly cannot remember it. I'm a little tired. I apologize. But I want to say Sergei Leone. Is that right? Is that like the person that wrote it or something? Or am I way off on that? Oh, well, sorry. And it's just about a guy, if you don't know anything about it, this came out in '87, I think. And it's about a guy who has a really long nose to a point that's a pretty drastic deformity. And a very beautiful woman comes into town to, she's working on her PhD. And it's different from Say Anything, where the two are nothing alike. And Roxanne, she probably would be more ultimately attracted to a really smart guy. And here's a guy who's really smart in more of a physical role as a firefighter. And he can attract her with his intelligence, but because of his deformity, he just doesn't think there's any possibility that this girl could ever like him. And so he gets an opportunity, a unique opportunity to try to woo her with his mind through an intermediary. Very interesting, very different. If you haven't seen it, I don't think a lot of people actually like this movie. I don't know why. I think that it's great. It's, to me, the pinnacle of spring movie watching, if there's any such thing as that. But that's it. Those are my top three. All three movies are movies I would recommend to anyone at any time. They're all three great movies. If you haven't seen these three movies, or any of these three, you're in for a treat, in my opinion. They're just great. I might do separate reviews on all three at some point, but just cannot recommend them enough. Sorry, I get excited when I think about movies sometimes, and these are so worth your time. Hey, if you have any spring movies you like, or anything like that, let me know. Or maybe you have some unique movie watching habits. Let me know. Put it in the comments. Have a good one.